Well, welcome to Yada Yada Boom. Robert and I were just having a quick conversation about some fun things in our physical worlds and what he's wearing today. Kind of talking about different races that we've done or not done and what we'd like to do in life. And out of nowhere, we've decided what it is that we're going to talk about today. And I just suggested something called kind of understanding your circle of friends. And immediately Robert's like, oh, I don't have friends. I was like, and this is what we are talking about.
Yes.
Press the record button. So, hi, Robert. How are you?
Hi. Well, I told you before we got officially recording that I'm also the man with the eternal cough.
You
I've
are.
had a bronchial problem now for about 6 weeks, so I don't know if it's long
Yes,
COVID or what. Other than that, I feel pretty good. I'm getting back to my exercise, so I'm able to
great.
do the things every day, but I'm just
You
sounding a little
sound funny.
rough. And in the morning, it's a nasty coughing fit pretty much every time I open my mouth. So
I'm
you said
sure.
circle of friends, and I said, well,
I
I don't
did.
really have friends. I've kind of always been like this. I have certainly
Interesting.
have friends, like I consider some of the people I bike with friends,
Yep.
but it's not like I reach out to them outside of the context of biking typically.
Right. Well, that's
Um,
why I thought this was going to be a great
yeah,
conversation because something I have a lot of conversation with as of late has been your circle of friends and really starting to understand how there are some people that you would consider in that tight circle of it's like your little nucleus. So the like Amma, she is your wife, yes, but
right.
she's also your friend. She's your
She is.
closest friend. So, and everybody knows that's your wife. So, like starting with those inner circle people, and then there's kind of like this lovely little circle that keeps going larger and larger and larger that kind of comes out from that center. And with talking, because I talk to a lot of people, of course, and really starting to understand that it's incredibly important to have those different levels and different circles of friends
Right.
and what you do with certain people and what you can say to certain people and things like that. So, if you were to sit back and think about who your closest friends would be, they're usually very few and far between. So, can you think of like who is your center? Who would be that person that you could have any conversation with and have no judgment?
Generally, that's Amma. Yeah, generally
Okay.
that's Amma.
Mhm.
Secondarily, it's going to be my sister.
Okay.
It would also be I can put I can put my daughter and my son into that as well.
Get closer. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's
That
all
is
it's all
usually,
family.
well, and that's very, very normal. So if I sit back and I think about it for me, I have what I call family. So you don't
Okay,
have to have a bloodline to actually be family. And we just put the
right.
little R in there. So you have family. Um, because a lot of my personal family members I'm not super, super close with, except for one.
Yeah,
So when I look at my really, really tight circle, it actually happens to be more extended. So yes, my mom is and I are very close, but she's not somebody that I could tell absolutely everything to just because she's my
right.
mom. Okay. So I look at some very, very close friends that I utilize as my family that I can have an anything type of conversation with. And I can narrow it down. I have like four people that know me to my core.
Right.
Looking at, those four core people, they really are a fiber of my being. And I don't know what I would do without them in my life. Um, and some of the people have been long term that I've known for, 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
And then there's some that are newer in that circle, but there's just that connection with where, like my friend across the street, we met when she moved in and we started a friendship and it just became more and more and more. And
Right.
now we are sisters. We are 100% sisters and share everything.
I mean, I
Like,
kind of wish I had
great.
this, but maybe I don't allow myself. I just don't. It doesn't develop that way. Maybe that's more
It
typical
is,
for men anyway. I don't know.
I think that is a more typical thing for men for
Right.
sure, because you tend to not have a deeper relationship with those outside of what your really close nucleus is.
Right.
But I don't think it's something that is abnormal or not something that it does happen because I have some guy friends, they've been best friends, for couldn't even tell you how long. They have pretty great relationship. It's just a matter of finding those people that you actually click with and have some common kind of core beliefs, values, thought processes, just people
Right.
that are on your wavelength.
Right.
So it's I think that I do have more of those closer friends because I do as a business and as just a person, I talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, you do. I know that.
And I will tell you, so like we were talking about circles. So there's that tight circle and it's very, very small. And then we talk about the outer rings of that. And then you can kind of delve into, oh, this friend, like you said, okay, some of the people that I bike with, right?
Right.
Like when you identify those people, you look forward to seeing them. Can't wait to talk while you're biking
Right.
or after, or I don't know what you guys, but like when you guys go bike, do you stop any place, afterwards and hang out for a little while?
Typically, yeah, when I read with a group, a club group, that's what you do.
Yeah,
There's a break at the, there's a break in the middle with some of the clubs, but at the end you gather together when there's time and you have a beer and a burger or things like that.
right. Yeah.
But it's
So,
funny because I'll just mention while it's fresh on my mind, one of the fellows that I rode with, him and I have very, very different thoughts on. I don't know that morally we're any different, but on politics, and this is a politically divided country. We're very, very much at each other's throats sometimes. And people would call us as we would ride, as we were riding together, the odd couple, because we got along great, but, and still do, but there were some third rail topics that people, sometimes people would introduce to see if they could rabble rouse us a little, I think. But, um, it's hard for me to be friendly if you're not really aligned with where I am on, and I wouldn't really call it political matters. I think it's more philosophical. But I understood where he
yes.
came from. He's military, um, and I've never been military, so I understand where he comes from. He comes from fairly on the right, way of thinking. And I used to be that, and I come from a fairly on the left way of thinking now. But it's difficult for me to really get close to anybody who's let's face it, a Trump supporter. you know I understand
Well,
various
it,
reasons for it, but it's really hard for me, but especially those that are rabid and spouting out basically talking points all the time and almost cultish about it. That's impossible for me. You can't get in my
yeah.
circle then. This fellow's not like that. He's really good guy, family man, really good to his family. And at the time we were really similarly, I wouldn't say skilled, but at least a similar level of fitness. Even though he's much younger than me, I was able to ride with him. He's way beyond me now, but I just wanted
Well,
to
I
test that
enjoy
out.
like how, because your brain works so differently than mine, which is like why like we do this because we come from such different types of thought process, but we get along famously,
Right,
right?
right.
So like when you bring up politics and things like that, I could care less. And I know that's really, but I truly am just like,
Yeah.
I don't have a true opinion about anything. I have a belief system for myself and what I think is right, but it usually has nothing to do with which political side you are on. Like it true, I'm all freaking over the
And that's
place.
why I said it isn't really so much political, because for me, it's about being a good person
Yes,
and trying to support others in our society that are trying to lift themselves up and be good people too, and trying to be nice and not create situations where the more marginalized in society are threatened by the extremists. And I know that you can always say there's extremists on both sides, but the violence that we've been seeing in this country when you start getting into politics tends
right.
to
We
come
start to
from
have
tends
hatred.
to come
Yeah.
from one side, this really angry, fearful group of people that are
Well, I think
fixated
there's a feel
almost in a
for,
cultish thing. And that for me is just impossible. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
well, I love how you just
I
love
always
getting those
do.
things in there.
Well,
You always have to get in there.
but you're talking to somebody that at 10 years old was predicting how many electoral votes George McGovern would get against, I think it was McGovern against Nixon in 1972. I was predicting I knew what the electoral college was and was predicting how many votes he would get, because
Right.
my
And
grandmother was
I
convinced McGovern would beat
don't
Nixon.
care.
And I'm like, he's not even going to get 20 electoral votes. He's not even going to come close. I was 10 years old. So
That's insane.
this has been entwined in my mind, in my brain since who
It's
knows
just
when.
there. Well, speaking like when you get into those circle of friends and you start to take a look at where those people are, I'm one of those that truly I just seek to understand people because I like to understand how they tick. So for you, I know where you stand on a lot of things
Right.
and how it gets under your skin and how passionate you truly are
Right.
about certain things. And then I could have the same type of conversation with somebody that believes completely different than you, but I'm still seeking to understand why do they think that way? Why is that important to them? Um, but each of those circles, as you start to go further out, of course, people can become closer when they have more like thoughts with
Right.
you than unlike thoughts with you.
Right.
So the one that you're like, yeah, we get along great until we bring up a hot topic, which honestly you probably both just like to banter towards each other because it's in your DNA to be very similar
Right.
in your belief systems about different things. So your passion's going to come out. I have a feeling you guys just really like that about each other because you
Yeah,
can.
actually, we don't. We often, when we ride now, which isn't as often because I moved from the area where he lives. Um, we don't typically. We just don't even go to those topics.
Yes, which is a much smarter avenue. I don't talk usually politics,
Yeah,
religion, the things, the hot topics that truly
but
sometimes bring out the best in some and the worst in others.
tell
So,
us, tell the listeners why this topic should resonate with them, though. What can
well,
they
I
take
really
away from it?
feel when you can start to identify relationships in your life,
Right.
we all are very relational as humans. As humans, we need other human interaction. So if you think about if you were all by yourself all of the time, you would not thrive. Okay,
Right.
we are built to be around others. And when you start to take a look at your surroundings, when I say surroundings, I mean it's the people that you surround yourself with. It's either your home or what you have in your home. What do you have for food? Who do you have for friends? What information are you inputting into your mind all the time? Are you putting in some positive things and things that make you think? Are
Right.
you constantly putting in negative things? Are you watching one-sided news all the time? Or are you
Right.
going back and forth just to kind of see where are people at? But as you look at yourself as a human and things that you can start to think about is, wow, not everybody in my life has to be that close nucleus. But there's certain levels that you have of these friends that are incredibly important to you as a human
Right.
that bring you health in life. So if I think about, the people that I have for friends, I have those really tight people. Then I have close people, people that I
Right.
do life with a lot, but maybe we don't align on a lot of things and I wouldn't call them at the drop of a hat.
Right.
Or maybe I don't even have their phone number in my phone. I just Facebook message them. And then I have the larger circle yet, the people at the gym. You see each other, you work out with each other every day. You know things about their life, but you're not going home to call them later. You're going to see them at the gym the next time, and that's your relationship.
Right.
And then there's the ones outside of that, even where you're like, yeah, we go out, once or twice a year, super fun. And then you don't talk. You're
Right.
not super close. But there's a reason why everybody has those different levels and where what you can pull from them and what kinds of things actually make you whole as a person. So not everybody has to be close, not everybody has to be far away, but for like mental health, understanding where those people are. I talk a lot, of course, about people's health. Yes, I talk nutrition, but I am also a life coach. So they're like, well, why do I not have anybody close to me? I don't have what you have,
Right.
or they're always with people and they're not comfortable by themselves. Starting to understand, okay, who are you? Who's in your circle? How many levels of those circle do you have? Because they're all important.
Okay.
But then giving yourself some equilibrium of, okay, you just identify, you're like, oh, I don't have friends. When we first started talking
Right.
about this, I'm like, but I think that you do. So who's your nucleus? Who's the tight knit group? For you, it happens to be family.
Right.
And then we start to bring those bigger ones out. Like when you guys go out to dinner and you see your friends, there are people that you go out with occasionally. You chit chat for a couple hours over dinner. Hey, great to see you. See you next time. It might be 6 months or a year.
Right.
but that's actually super beneficial to you because you're going to go out with some friends for dinner. You need to have
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. And as I think further, there are certainly people like Matt, who I worked with for better part of 9 years at Dialite. I consider him, Kathy Smith, both at Dialite. I consider both of them people that I can be honest and not judged. And they know me at my edgiest self.
Yep. And then
And
there's people that you edit yourself with, and you're like, okay, they can't handle.
I don't edit
No,
myself much. No, they just don't
really?
like me.
Okay. I do.
Do you?
So I find that I'm more of a chameleon. I
You're
am friends
extra
with,
Kate.
I am extra Kate. Okay. I am a lot extra, but it's just something for me. I'm very peoply, right? You're very
Right.
data driven. Give me the numbers, whatever else. I'm more of,
Yeah.
okay, so how do you tick? What's
Right.
your data? I want to understand where your data is on your spreadsheet. So I have a lot of circles, but they're not all close. They're not people who know me at my core, but they might find me to be their closest friend or their tightest friend because they share with me things that they normally wouldn't share with others. So just, I don't know. I think it's incredibly important to identify for yourself, who are you? What is it that you're trying to do in the world? Are you trying to be that better person? How can you be a better person?
Right.
Does that mean that you grow yourself in your circles? Does it mean that you're pulling yourself back because maybe you're in too many circles? So for me, sometimes I do have to pull back because
Right.
there's too many circles going on. It's very overwhelming and I need to have quiet time. So my
Right.
extra Kate, yeah, I'm an extrovert half the time. We've had this
Yes,
podcast,
we did.
but I also need to fuel myself back up. And that usually does come from the quiet.
Right.
So I get a lot, why aren't you going out on the weekends?
Yeah.
Talk enough to people all throughout the week. Sometimes I just want to,
Right.
and then the lifestyle that usually goes with going out with people is dining out on food that's not the healthiest choice.
Yeah.
Having, cocktails, once again, not the healthiest choice. Going out of sync of, what my normal routine and schedule is. It is really warm. I'm taking off my
Uh-oh.
sling. I know. I know.
Okay. Just a sling.
Just the sling.
We got to keep this. We got to keep
We got to
this.
keep it. We got to keep it right for
Got
for
to
the
keep
listeners
this.
here. Ooh,
I don't even remember movies anymore. G, and what's the next one before R? PG.
PG,
Okay, we got to
PG
keep it at least
13
PG.
R. Yeah, I'm
Got
keeping
to
it
keep it at
PG.
least
Maybe
PG.
PG 13. I got some bruising going on. That's pretty
Yeah.
gross. Um, but really just identifying where are you at? Why is this important? And maybe it's just something for listeners out there to be like, oh, like that is important to me and for these reasons. Or maybe everything's surface level and they don't have people that they can have that
Right.
tight relationship with. And how would you find that?
So you've got me thinking, and as we said when we started, we really had no plans at all. We literally just
Right.
dived into this. So I grew up with a very independent mindset.
Mhm.
And I think if I were to boil it down and try to convey it quickly, it would be I was mouthy and opinionated. My mouth got me in trouble around the house. I would kind of blurt out stuff that I knew would agitate my family, my mom or dad, and I get sent to my room quite often. It was kind of like, you can't break me. You send me to my room, you're in my room all you want. I'll stay there for 5 days and I will never beg to come out. You know, I had this prideful, independent streak. Um, so I grew up with that. And years later, obviously years later, when I met Amma, she asked me what my word was. And this was my word for a long time. And it was independence. She bought me this little bracelet. It's got a thing and it says independent. Because I was of the mindset, we won't go down the political side, but I was of a more traditional right wing mindset that, I'm independent. I remember scoffing in the 90s when Hillary Clinton, I think, penned a book called It Takes a Village. I'm like, it takes a village. Typical Democrats, typical, nanny state Democrats. We're all independent people. And that's the US, right? Isn't it? That we are really driven on the sense of independence. But it would be later in life I'd realize that shit, I don't kill my own animals to eat. I don't grow my own vegetables. If the power went out, I mean, I understand electricity and I had schooling in it, but I'd be damn hard pressed to be able to do things. I do depend on a
Mhm.
lot of people. We all depend on a lot of people. So that word independent has really faded quite a bit. And while I don't have a lot of friendships that are really, really close, um, I do realize that that pridefulness that I'm independent and made it on my own kind of attitude. Yeah, that's also manifests in why I do podcasts and all the stuff I do on social media is I realize that I have some unearned privilege as a white male, especially an older white male. There's unearned privilege, and I don't feel bad. I don't feel guilty. I'm not apologizing for it. I just recognize that it's helped me to get to where I am, and it wasn't just me being independent. So, that's what you've got. That's what you've got flowing in my mind is I'm constantly working to be less like that, where I feel like I've got it all. I've got it all figured out. I don't need anybody because that was my attitude. And
Yep.
I do mentor people. I'm going to be on my fifth session in women electronics where I'm mentoring people. And I learn a lot about myself because I'm open to learning about myself. But I was prideful and like, no, I'm not backing off on this way of thinking because that would be admitting I'm wrong. And maybe I did get to where I am with a little help. So that I find intriguing when I start
Right.
thinking about this circle of friends.
And my upbringing much different. I was a pleaser. I wanted to, please my parents. Getting in trouble was not something that I did. I followed the rules. Um, Most certainly, if I got sent to my room, it was very heartbreaking for me because I was like, oh my gosh, I've disappointed
Yeah,
my parents, and I want to do well for them and make them proud of me. So I'm an achiever, like
right,
in school, letter grades, relationships, like all of those things were incredibly important. We did, like my dad hunted, we had a garden,
right,
many gardens, like we actually rented space away from our home.
right,
So independence really was something where we did provide for ourselves because it was just the way that I was raised.
right.
If the
Interesting.
electricity goes out, yeah, I was taught at a very young age, okay, this is how we go down and check this, and then this is the point where we have to call somebody.
Yeah,
There's a point that we do. But I find it interesting that we're both similar. Like, I mentor people all of the time, but we come from very different upbringings and backgrounds. And I've recognized in something that I think that was probably instilled in me, and maybe this is why I have so many circles of friends. So I'm glad that you bring this up, is that I was taught to honor and respect all opinions around me and then deduce what are my thoughts from my
right.
perspective. Um, and to learn that there's more than one way to do everything.
Yeah, that is
There's
true.
not just right and wrong. I think that I can say thank you to my parents for that.
Right,
And it has also, of course, stemmed me into who I am, where I'm like, there's not just one way to anything. There are multiple ways. There's ways that I know of,
right.
and then there's ways that I haven't learned yet. So now that I'm literally working with one arm, which is probably one of the most frustrating things for me ever, is because
I
I am
imagine.
like I'm less independent than I've ever been. Waiting on other people to do things for me when I need them done has driven me crazy. Like I cannot tie a shoe. I cannot do my own hair. There are certain things that I am physically unable to do and haven't figured out yet
Right.
a way to do them. But I will tell you that I have found, and I'm glad that I have the mindset that I'm like, okay, I cannot wash the arm that works because the arm that doesn't work can't
Can't.
wash it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also a very clean person. So the garbage truck is right in front of my house with the windows open. Hopefully that's not too loud.
I heard just a
But I'm like,
tiny little rumble.
what can I do? Because I'm not going to go with a dirty arm, you
Right.
know? So I'm like, oh, I'll soap up my leg and I'll use my leg
Yeah.
on my arm to take care. Like, there's a way to do everything. I'm like, let me try to put my hair up by myself and use the wall or my bed to like hold it while I do
Yep.
different things. Um, but I think a lot of that does stem from, okay, I think differently. There is not just this way and this way. There's a way. What is going to work best for me from my perspective? Who am I in that circle?
Right.
So when I think about my closest, okay, first and foremost, closest friend is you. How you talk to yourself matters. What you say to yourself often
Yeah, I would
really
hope we can
matters.
be
Most of us
I
would
would
not be
hope we can
friends.
be not judgmental and tell ourselves anything.
Mm. Right. So we are our worst friend.
Yeah, we actually
If
are terrible
you,
critics of
we are
ourselves, aren't
terrible.
we?
We are absolutely horrible. Because if you said out loud the things that you say to yourself all throughout the day to somebody else, you would never have a circle of friends ever.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I say to myself. I have to think about that.
Oh, you probably do.
Yeah.
So especially like when you're frustrated when things are not going well, you're like that anger that arises,
Oh
it's
yeah,
usually
yeah.
something that you like, why can't I figure this out? What is wrong with me?
Right.
And you there's a whole lineage of things when
Okay,
you
I'll give
really
you that
start
for
to
sure.
listen. Yep, when you start to listen to the things that you say to yourself, it is incredibly either disempowering or powering for your day. So when you do have like this is a whole different conversation, like starting to change those thoughts when you hear yourself say something negative, flip it. So
Yep.
when you say, I don't have friends, well, maybe I just haven't allowed myself to have friends, or maybe it is, let me look at myself first. What is it that I am doing, portraying, or whatever? Am I attracting people or repelling people? Is that important to me? Do I want to have a larger circle of
Right.
influence? If I have a voice and I'm on this earth for something bigger than just me, what is it that I can change for me that makes me better that will attract more people to a better way, a better change,
Yep.
a better way to human.
Yeah, I don't think I really care if I have any more friends, frankly. I do, I do have a lot of people in the business world that I'm friendly with and consider friends to a large degree. They're in the further outside of that circle for sure. And I want to treat them with as much respect as anybody else, and be friendly and not totally be me. But most of them will see me like the committees I'm on. I'm on a number of committees. We've got various industry associations, and I'm on a number of committees, and I pretty much will share my thoughts. And I know that there's going to be people who don't want to hear those thoughts or don't
Right.
like the way I'm presenting them. And I'm not cursing or anything like that. I'm just pretty strong and and committed to those thoughts and
We will
and
say,
not
again,
not
opinion,
afraid
commitment,
of
that's it.
not afraid of sharing them, because when I stammer and stutter, it usually means I'm measuring my words. And when I started podcasting, I remember every podcast I'd stop and start and stop and start because I was so worried about how I looked and what I was saying and did I say it perfectly, and I was measuring my words, and I still do that more than I thought. We just watched and I both not feeling great. So we sat and watched a movie. Not something I do often. We watched Jurassic Park, and it's like 30 some years old. My goodness.
Yep. I know.
Anyway,
Remember when it came out?
yeah, you were a
Oh,
wee
yeah, right.
teen maybe.
I was not
You
that
were
young.
probably a late teen.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember when Garrett, he was about 3, and we had to turn it off because he freaked out when the guy got chomped off the toilet by the dinosaur. But um, we were watching that movie together, and it just brought back all kinds of all kinds of interesting memories,
Mhm.
to the point that I have no damn idea why I was mentioning it. What the hell was I mentioning the
I
Jurassic
don't,
Park
well,
for?
you would say that you edit things and you really think about what it is that you're saying and you measure yourself by your perfectionism, which we've also talked about.
Right,
Um, And once again, I am so opposite of you. I could care less how I say it, what I say. I'm in the moment.
right,
And I think I've taught myself that over time, just like as public speaking and just talking with as many people as I do. I'm less critical of what I say and I'm more interested in figuring out what it is that you've got going on and then how can I serve? It's just how can I maybe help you? What is it that you're looking to do? What is it that
right.
you need in life and how do I fit into your circle?
I
What
certainly
value
hope
can
that
I bring?
I certainly hope that um, more more people get to know that side of you. And I should probably do an interview so they can understand that side of you, how you can help them beyond the nutritional and the weight loss side, because I've certainly learned, and I've known this my whole life, really. It is your relationship with food, your mindset. And I've seen firsthand really bad relationships with food in my family.
Yes.
And people will see me and they say, wow, you're so fit. You've commented on it, but I'm not the best eater. You know that. I've already told
I
you
do
that.
know.
You
Yep.
tried to coach me and I was like, no. But
You were opinionated about your opinions.
yeah, but I'm at least mindful of what I do. So,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of people, they want to out exercise a bad diet or
Can't do
exercise
it.
harder tomorrow and try to rationalize a lot of things. And once you start realizing that food is fuel and how your body reacts to it, and everybody's body is a little different, of course, but uh, this is all goes to mindset, right? And it's
Yes.
how you're going to approach other aspects of your life too, because once
Well,
you can
I
start
think
to
you're right.
harness that, you're harnessing more.
It is so much more than what you put in your mouth. It's actually just who you are as a person and how every single part of your life impacts you. And whether you recognize it or not, you're raising up your levels of consciousness as you start to learn yourself. And everything freaking matters. So we'll talk about that another
Yep.
time.
So
I think this
we're
is
going
a
to have to
great time
wrap
for
up
us
because
to
you told
wrap
me
it
you
up.
had to run.
I have to
And
physical therapy.
yeah, and
Yes.
I've got something coming up in 20 minutes myself, so I will grab a quick bite probably,
I think
and then
that's a
off to
grand
the gym.
plan. Perfect.
So,
I love that idea.
yes.
So, thanks for listening. And I hope that somebody got something out of our little banter because it's a lot of
Yes.
yada yada.
Yep.
Sometimes there's a little boom. So,
And
here's
very
to the
little
next
cowbell,
time.
by the way. That's what I've added to it.
Oh, little cowbell.
Well, the cowbell skit from SNL.
Oh, boy.
I got a fever. This podcast could have used a little more cowbell. I can't really do Christopher Walken. Do you know the cowbell episode?
I
No.
don't think I do, but I
Oh
know
my
Christopher
goodness.
Walken. And that was not a Christopher Walken.
I think it was 1980 when they did it. So it
Oh
is
my
kind
gosh.
of outdated, but anyway.
It's not outdated. Nothing SNL
Take
is
care. I hope
outdated.
you're on time for your
All right, dear.
things. Have a good
I
weekend.
will. All right, we'll talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.